FEMA and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints agree on a short list of ordinary foods every household should keep in the pantry. What do these two organizations, one a federal agency and the other running the most prepared community in America, tell their own people to store? It is a question worth asking right now because the United States cattle herd just shrank to its smallest size in 75 years, beef hit a record price this spring, and 70% of the country's winter wheat is sitting in drought. Both organizations planned for years like this one decades ago, and their guidance overlaps on that same short list. When university researchers opened cans of that food after 30 years in storage, most of it was still perfectly edible. And one of the staples that passed costs less than $1 a pound today. In the next few minutes, you will get the complete combined list, the exact quantities recommended per adult, where to buy it at near wholesale cost without joining anything, and the one storage mistake that turns a 30-year food supply into garbage in a matter of months. Why 2026 is the year this matters. Start with what's actually happening to the food supply right now, because this isn't speculation. The United States cattle herd is the smallest it has been in 75 years. Beef prices hit a record this April, and the Economic Research Service at the USDA predicts beef and veal prices will rise another 12.1% in 2026. Fresh vegetables are forecast to climb 7.8% this year. The driver is water. As of mid-May, 70% of the country's winter wheat production was in areas experiencing drought, along with 61% of cattle. 6 major reservoirs spanning key agricultural regions recorded their lowest late May levels in at least 30 years. In March, the national fertilizer supply was running around 75% of normal levels, which raises costs for nearly every crop planted this spring. None of this means grocery stores go empty tomorrow. What it means is simpler and more certain. Food bought today is cheaper than the same food bought next year. For anyone living on a fixed income where the grocery budget doesn't stretch the way it used to, a working pantry is a financial hedge before it's ever an emergency plan, and the two organizations we're covering figured that out a long time ago. The FEMA baseline, what the government actually says. You may have seen videos claiming FEMA gives its employees a secret stockpile list it hides from the public. That's not true, and the truth is more useful. FEMA publishes its guidance openly at ready.gov, which means every item I'm about to give you can be verified on a government website tonight. The USDA Food and Nutrition Service publishes complimentary guidance through its nutrition assistance programs, so both arms of federal food policy are pointing the same direction. The FEMA baseline is a minimum 3-day supply of non-perishable food for every person in your household, plus 1 gallon of water per person per day for drinking and sanitation. The food categories they specify include canned meats, fruits and vegetables, protein and fruit bars, dry cereal and granola, peanut butter, dried fruit, crackers, canned juices, shelf-stable milk, and food for infants or family members on special diets. The common thread is that nothing on the list requires refrigeration, cooking, or added water. Commercially canned food is safe to eat cold, straight from the can. FEMA also flags a detail people often miss: a manual can opener. A pantry full of cans with no way to open them is a bad place to discover the gap. They recommend storing boxed food in tightly closed plastic or metal containers and replacing expired items as you go. This is a practice food safety professionals call FIFO. First in, I'm sure you're in, first out. One more item from FEMA's official kit list that matters more with every passing birthday is medications. About half of all Americans take a prescription medicine every day, and an emergency can make it hard to refill one or to find an open pharmacy. FEMA recommends organizing your prescriptions, over-the-counter medicines, and vitamins as part of the kit, alongside non-prescription basics like pain relievers, anti-diarrheal medication, and antacids. If you manage a chronic condition, the medication shelf deserves the same attention as the food shelf. There's a decision point here. If your most likely emergency is an evacuation, like a wildfire or hurricane zone, build a portable 3-day kit you can carry. If your most likely scenario is sheltering in place through a power outage or a supply disruption, weight matters less and volume matters more, so build deep instead of light. Know which one you're building before you spend $1. 3 days is where the government starts. The second organization treats 3 days as a rounding error. The LDS system, Layer 1, the 3-month supply. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has taught food storage since the 1800s, and its current system, formalized today under the Provident Living Program, the Church's official self-reliance initiative, is the result of trimming a century of trial and error down to what works. Gail McGovern, President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Red Cross, said the Church has created a strong culture of preparedness that can serve as a model for the country. The system has 2 layers, and the order matters. Layer 1 is a 3-month supply of food you already eat. Not survival rations, not buckets of freeze-dried lasagna, the same canned and packaged food your family buys every week. The Church's method for building it is almost embarrassingly simple. Figure out what it takes to feed your household for 1 day, multiply by 7 for a week, then keep adding a little each shopping trip until you reach 3 months. The reason this layer comes first is rotation. Because it's food you normally eat, you use the oldest items and replace them. FIFO. First in, first out, so nothing expires unused. Many members audit their storage every 6 months, often timed to the Church's twice-yearly general conference as a built-in reminder. Twice a year, check dates, water, and batteries. The official guidance comes with a warning that most prepper content leaves out. The Church's own pamphlet, All is Safely Gathered In, tells members to be wise, not to go to extremes, and never to go into debt to build storage all at once. A gradual pantry you can afford beats a panic purchase every time. Layer 2 is where it gets interesting, because the Church's own university spent years testing food that had been sitting in members' closets for 3 decades, and most of it was still good. One food failed completely. Layer 2, the 30-year foods. Brigham Young University's Department of Nutrition, Dietetics, and Food Science, led by researchers including Professor Oscar Pike, who oversaw much of the long-term shelf life testing, collected food storage samples from church members, some stored for 30 years or more in number 10 cans at room temperature. They tested wheat, white rice, cornmeal, pinto beans, rolled oats, pasta, potato flakes, dried apples, and powdered milk for taste and nutrition. The results changed the official shelf life estimates. Properly packaged low-moisture foods stored at 75 degrees Fahrenheit or cooler remain edible and nutritious for 30 years or more. Pinto beans stored for 30 years still earned over 80% acceptance from consumer taste panels. Rice stored 32 years showed no increase in harmful compounds. The old printed dates were just best if used by labels, not safety deadlines. Here's the BYU target list, per adult, per year. Grains 300 pounds or more total, mixed to your preference. Wheat at around 132 pounds if you grind your own flour. White rice at 65 pounds. Rolled oats at 29. Pasta at 21. Legumes, about 62 pounds of beans, split peas or lentils. Sugar or honey, 70 pounds. Potato flakes, 22 pounds. Iodized salt, 8 pounds. Cooking oil, around 10 quarts, rotated more often. 2 exceptions matter. Non-fat dry milk holds about 15 years, not 30, and dehydrated carrots about 10. And the one outright failure in BYU's testing is powdered eggs. They did not survive long-term storage well, so buy those small and rotate fast. A quick note on terminology that trips people up. Dehydrated food, like the carrots and potato flakes on this list, has had most moisture removed but retains cell structure. Freeze-dried food goes through a vacuum process that removes even more moisture and tends to rehydrate more fully. Both work for long-term storage, but their shelf lives and price points differ significantly, and freeze-dried products from brands like Mountain House or Augustin Farms can run 3 to 5 times the cost per calorie compared to plain bulk staples. That is worth knowing before you spend. 2 insider details from the researchers. Store baking soda because beans harden over decades, and a spoonful in the soak water softens them again. And store a bottle of 365 vitamin C tablets per person, which leads directly to the problem nobody talks about. The gap nobody mentions: nutrition holes. BYU ran the numbers on the classic basic year supply: 400 pounds of wheat, 60 pounds of beans, 60 pounds of sugar, 16 pounds of powdered milk, 10 quarts of oil, and 8 pounds of salt. The verdict: adequate calories, but deficient in calcium and vitamins A, C, B12, and E. You can be fully stocked by the traditional standard and still develop deficiencies within months. That gap matters more as we get older, since calcium supports bone strength and B12 absorption already declines with age, which makes these the last nutrients an older household can afford to run short on. The fix lives in your 3-month layer. Canned fruits and vegetables carry vitamins A and C. Canned fish and meat cover B12. Fortified powdered milk helps with calcium. A bottle of multivitamins per person closes the rest for a few dollars. This is why the church teaches the layers in order. The everyday layer is not training wheels. It is where most of your micronutrients live. One more item both FEMA-aligned extension guides and experienced storage teachers recommend is comfort food. Cookies, hard candy, coffee, whatever your family considers normal. Morale. During a stressful week is not a luxury, and familiar food is the cheapest morale tool there is. The storage mistake that destroys everything. Everything promised so far, including the 30-year shelf lives and the taste panel results, depends on storage conditions. This is where most new preppers quietly ruin their investment. BYU researchers use the acronym HALT, which stands for humidity, air, light, and temperature. Minimize all 4. Temperature is the killer. The 30-year estimates assume room temperature or cooler, 75 degrees or below, and never freezing and thawing cycles. Stored just 10 degrees warmer, dehydrated carrots go from a 10-year shelf life to inedible within months. The garage and the attic, the 2 places Americans most often put their food storage, are the 2 worst rooms in the house. A bedroom closet floor or a basement shelf will outperform a garage by decades. There is a practical bonus. Ground-level closet storage means no ladders, no attic stairs, and no hauling heavy containers up and down steps to rotate your supply. Containers, ranked. Number 10 cans with low oxygen are the gold standard and what BYU's results are based on. Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets are a close second. If you go the bucket route, Gamma Seal lids are worth the few extra dollars. They thread on and off without a mallet, making rotation practical instead of a project. PETE plastic bottles, the kind marked PETE or PET under the recycling symbol, work with oxygen absorbers for grains and beans. Other plastics do not block oxygen and moisture well enough. Never reuse containers that held non-food products. And one hard safety line from the church's own packaging guidance: only store foods with about 10% moisture or less in sealed low-oxygen packaging. Sealing moist food in an oxygen-free container creates the conditions for botulism. Dry rice and beans. Yes. Jerky, dried fruit you made yourself, anything soft or flexible? No. Where to buy it cheap? Here's the part that surprises people most. The church operates home storage centers across the country, part of the broader Provident Living and Welfare Network that also includes Welfare Square in Salt Lake City, warehouses staffed by volunteers where these exact staples are sold pre-packed in number 10 cans at close to cost. You do not have to be a member of the church to shop there. Anyone can walk in and the same products ship from their online store. The pre-packed cans carry a practical advantage too. Each one weighs only a few pounds, so you can build serious storage without ever lifting a 50-pound sack or sealing Mylar bags at the kitchen table. And home delivery removes the lifting entirely. Compare cost per calorie before buying anything marketed as survival food. Branded emergency buckets from companies like Mountain House or Augustin Farms routinely charge several times more per calorie than plain rice, beans, oats, and wheat in bulk. The marked up bucket isn't more food, It's more marketing. Where the specialty products earn their price is convenience and variety, not the calorie base. So build the base cheap and add variety later. For the 3-month layer, the budget path is $10 to $15 added to a normal weekly grocery run, an amount that works even on a fixed monthly income because it never requires a large outlay. Each week, buy a duplicate of something shelf-stable you already eat. In about 6 months of that habit, a typical household reaches a 3-month pantry without ever feeling the spend, and every can on that shelf was bought at today's prices instead of next year's. If money is the constraint, start with rice, beans, oats, and salt, the highest calories per dollar on the list. If space is the constraint, prioritize calorie-dense items and use closet floors and the bottoms of existing cabinets before buying shelving, keeping the heaviest items at waist height where they're easiest and safest to lift. Either way, water comes before all of it. 1 gallon per person per day, 2 weeks if you're storing at home. Use sturdy leak-proof containers. Options like WaterBrick stackable containers or the Aquapod bathtub bladder for short-term emergencies are popular choices, stored away from heat and sunlight. Your 30-day action plan. Here's the whole system compressed into 1 month. Week 1, build the FEMA baseline and extend it. 2 weeks of food your household already eats, stored water, a manual can opener, and an organized supply of your medications. Week 2, run the HALT audit. Find the coolest, darkest, driest spot in your home at a height you can reach without a ladder and move everything out of the garage and attic. Week 3, make your first long-term purchase. A case of white rice and a case of beans in pre-packed number 10 cans from a home storage center or their online store, delivered to your door for roughly $50 to $60 per adult, or bulk bags packed in Mylar with Gamma Seal lids if you prefer doing it yourself. Week 4, write the inventory. List what you have, date it, keep the list somewhere a family member could find it, and set a recurring reminder twice a year to rotate FIFO, oldest out, first. That's the entire framework both organizations have refined for decades. A government floor of 3 days, an everyday pantry of 3 months, and a 30-year foundation of staples, stored cool, dry, dark, and sealed. The list isn't secret, and that's exactly why it works. Every quantity in this video traces back to ready.gov, the church's Provident Living Guidance, or BYU's Shelf Life Research, and the sources are linked in the description so you can check every number yourself. Your challenge for tonight: price out 1 week of your family's actual meals, then buy 1 duplicate of it this weekend. That single trip puts you ahead of most households in the country. Food is only half the system, though. Water storage has its own rules, its own shelf life, and its own expensive mistakes, and that is the next video, so subscribe so you do not miss it.